NMPP faction insists on recognition from INEC after court verdict. No consensus yet in APC Nasarawa governorship race, as key gladiators disagree over choices. We have that and a discussion on politics and governance in an election year. This is Political Update. Stay tuned. A faction of the New Nigeria People's Party, NMPP, led by Major Gilbert Agbu, has threatened legal action should INEC delay further in its recognition or as the authentic leadership of the party. Addressing a press conference in Abuja, Major Agbu raised concerns that further delay of its recognition could hinder the party's chances to participate in the 2027 general election. He argued that all court judgments over the leadership crisis in the party since 2024 recognized him as the authentic national chairman and upheld the expulsion of the Abuja-led group, wondering why the Independent National Electoral Commission was taking so long to comply with the judgments. The Agbu-led NWC also dissociated from the Ibadan summit of opposition parties, which resolved to field a consensus presidential candidate in 2027 election. He said whoever attended the meeting in the name of the NMPP is an imposter and does not have the mandate of the NMPP.
The highest of all the judgments, they were a appeal court judgment, which went ahead to confirm all the other judgments. So we are now waiting to see if INEC would have any reason. If they want to ignore high court judgments, we're waiting to see if they will also ignore an appeal court judgment. As I speak to you now, there are no records of appeal against that high court judgment, that appeal court judgment in the Supreme Court. There is also no stay of execution anywhere. So we're waiting for INEC. If they are truly an independent arbiter, we will see what would happen. But we have this firm belief that before the end of this week, INEC will do what they need to do. It is our hope that INEC will take seriously the obligation and responsibilities of ensuring that they don't take sides in issues that border on the leadership of political parties.
Now going to the subnationals and the race to the different government houses. There's a considerable number of Nasarawa indigenes who have signified interest to be the next governor of the state. Some say there's an anointed candidate. Our guest, Dominica Lancha, earlier said that there's nothing of such. Let's take a listen.
In Nasarawa State, the race is on. Aspirants, have been indicating interest to, contest for the positions. Mobilization is on. People are, the aspirants are reaching out to their constituents, their supporters, party faithfuls, and, those that are the critical stakeholders within the state to ensure that they secure the ticket, for the gubernatorial in Nasarawa State. So the race is on. The idea that a candidate has been anointed, I think, the governor has the right to say this is who I'm supporting, just as, other persons also have a right to support any of the candidates. But, there are procedures to arriving at a consensus, and that procedures has not been followed.
One of the elder statesmen in the state, a former governor, Tanko Makura, was quoted in the press as saying that it's a bit too early in the game for that to be done, especially when consultations have not been made with the key stakeholders in the state. And then perhaps as the APC family will look forward and begin to perhaps look at the credentials of those who have put their names forward. Are you along that line of thinking, or do you also have, perhaps another idea as far as the destination of state is concerned?
Yes, I flow along that. I think we're on the same page with the former governor of Nasarawa State, distinguished Senator Umaru Tanko Makura, when he said that proper consultation have not been done, and that is very correct, because if you look at the political space as far as the emergence of a gubernatorial candidate for the party in Nasarawa State is concerned, there are certain critical stakeholders that you must consult, you must carry along for you to arrive at a consensus candidate for a specific candidate of your choice. And Umaru Tanko Makura and the former governor also, Abdullahi Adamu. These are stakeholders you must carry along. There are other stakeholders that you must carry along. So for Nasarawa State, I think that consultation has not been properly carried out. And if you look at other states that have agreed on consensus, let's take Ogun State, for example. Ogun State gathered all their stakeholders, and then they agree, even including the aspirant, and then they agree that, look, they want a consensus candidate, and this is who they are going for as consensus in person of Senator, I think, Solomon Yayi. So I think that kind of consult. Look at what happened in Yobe State. Yobe State was in the presidency. He didn't even go with a candidate, but he went with the Minister of Police Affairs, the former governor, who is like a mentor to the, to the current governor. This is how to carry people, And just this morning, I was watching on the news where the former Senate president also was railing out the decision of stakeholders in the state. You carry people along so that the election will go seemingly without opposition within, the party. But in the case of Nasarawa State, nothing like that was done. And I think it's an aberration, it's unacceptable. That is why you are seeing the kind of opposition, the renewed opposition, even within the party that you are seeing against Wadada. And I think the governor should tread carefully so that he don't end up creating more enemies for Honorable Wadada. Because if you are saying that there is a consensus candidate, then you must be able to bring all the aspirants together to agree. And going by the Electoral Act also, before you arrive at a consensus, you must be able to secure the written agreement, the written consent of all the aspirants to say that we have agreed on consensus and we are withdrawing our aspiration for so Mr. A or Mr. B
as was done in Osun State,
as was done in Osun State as our consensus candidate. In this case, the aspirants have not even purchased their form. So you are jumping the gun by, anointing somebody and presenting him to Mr. President without, following the due process as laid out in the Electoral Act.
But let's just look quickly at Nasarawa in general. I traveled from Jos through Nasarawa a couple of weeks ago, and it looks to me as if one poll, one aspirant, in terms of the posters I was seeing, it looks as if a lot of people are interested in that government house this time around. We are expecting something that will be like a very stiff competition.
Yes, the competition is going to be very stiff, actually, because if you look at Nasarawa State, they have array, cream de la cream of people that have the competence, the capacity to lead the state. And that is why I said the governor have to tread with caution, because if you look at on the list, we have the former Inspector General of Police, we have the former Commissioner of Finance in the state. We have a lot of them, Guber, the Senator Wadada himself, who in the 2019, disagreed, in fact, because of Wadada, almost every other aspirant agreed to consensus when Sule was being promoted as a consensus candidate for the. He disagreed. Wadada disagreed. And a primary election, I was member of that committee that organized that primary election, for in 2018, 2019 general election, and Wadada came second. So I think, there is need for them to tread with caution, and the truth of the matter is that Nasarawa has a lot of, competent persons that can lead the state, and that's what makes the primaries, that's what makes it, interesting, and of course it's going to be a very tough one.
That's one leg of the discussion. The national summit of more than 10 opposition parties, party leaders across Nigeria say they have agreed to field a single presidential candidate. That was over the weekend for the 2027 general election. This was at a high-level summit with the theme that we may work together for a united opposition to sustain democracy. Now let's take a look at Luku's report and talk about what the meeting brought together. Of course, some opposition parties, just like you saw at the beginning of the program, also dissociated themselves from that meeting. But let's see what transpired.
Ibadan, the political headquarters of southwest Nigeria, once again relived history, serving as a convergence point for opposition political parties to rally round in a bid to defeat the governing party in next year's general elections.
Gang up against one man. It is about the collective ambition of the Nigerian people to have a democracy that is properly defined.
This, the opposition leaders believe, will promote the virtues of equity, fairness, and honesty as enshrined in the ethos of democratic governance.
This moment calls for deliberate action in defense of democracy, action in defense of our citizenship, action in defense of principles and honor.
Our gathering is an urgent response to our nation to patriotic duty. Who remember us, but when the nation cried out to be rescued, all of us here answered.
Emphasizing a more cohesive opposition capable of offering credible alternatives. The summit, in a communique codenamed Ibadan Declaration, urged all actors in the election process to be guided by the principles of neutrality and also seeks for the extension of the deadline for party primaries to late July 2026.
It's matters arising, and of course we'll go to the second topic of the day, and this time talking politics and governance. We're getting to the political season, and fully let me welcome convener Initiative for Good Governance, Musa Soken. Thank you for joining us. You've been kicking watch of the political space, especially from the perspective of your party. Now the political season is upon us, but many say those in positions of authority must not be distracted. They must continue to serve the people and ensure the delivery of good governance, in spite of the different shades and color of intentions, as well as the timetable as reeled out by different political parties, and of course under the guidance of the bigger timetable by INEC.
Well, I think a step have already been taken towards that, where there is a circular for those aspiring different positions to step down and concentrate on politicking.
That does not capture lawmakers, though.
Well, you see, sometimes some of these things is done with the intention to have a focus on governance, and instead of distraction, there should be focus where those that are aspiring for positions should, go and concentrate on their political activities, their office taken over and well coordinated to effect good governance.
All right, let's quickly look at time space. We still have about, if we look at it from now to almost a year of the current administration in different levels, at the subnationals as well. In some states, just like you saw in the first discussion, a lot of everything is almost being channeled towards who comes in next and all that. But in your own, analysis and estimation, what would be advised, especially in the key areas of the nation's economy, where we still need to focus while we continue with the politicking?
Well, I think the federal government have already making preparation towards a kind of policy that is termed as bottom-up politics, where grassroots will be engaged. We have 8,809 political wards all around the countries, and the focus now is systemic towards engaging the grassroots to ensure that they are taken into cognizance in the governance activities of the country. And the Honorable Minister of Budget and Economic Planning, His Excellency Senator Atiku Bagudu, and the Minister of State, Dr. Doris Uzoka Anite, they have taken some proactive steps towards ensuring that the medium-term economic policy or program of the government is taking into cognizance, but starting from the world level. And I think that is very systemic and is going to galvanize and ensure that grassroots are taken into political activities and governance as well. The federal government is targeting 1,000 people, to empower 1,000 people in all the 8,809 electoral wards in the country. And that, I think, is very systemic and is going to, affect good governance. And that plan is in line with the government plan to, augment the economic situation of the country from the low economic, country to upper middle, income countries. And that is in line with also the federal government initiative to ensure that the $1 trillion economy comes to
reality. Okay, let's quickly move very quickly to political activities. Shortly, of course, we're seeing singing and dancing in Ekiti and Osun states already. Talking about the off-season elections in the into the governorship positions in those two states. That would act as a litmus test for INEC. What are you expecting from the election management body at this time, especially taking into consideration that Professor Mupiton, by the time he came in, the T's and the I's had been crossed and dotted by Professor Mahmoud, talking about the Anambra governorship elections?
Election at all times, have to do with people-oriented factors. And that is how is the strength of the political parties within the state to galvanize support in support of their candidate. And if that is done, the various parties that are vying for the position of governance in that state are going to have their ways, and the election will go without any hitches.
All right, before we go, let's just take one from one of the parties galvanizing support for the current administration. The Director General of the Renewed Hope Ambassadors and Governor of Imo State, Governor Opu Uzodimma, has formally unveiled the official website of the group, describing it as a major step towards strengthening digital communication and public engagement for the administration of President Bola Tinubu. Speaking at the unveiling ceremony, the Director General of the platform said the platform would serve as a comprehensive hub for information on government's policies, achievements, and the long-term development goals of the administration.
We will be very clear in marketing the achievements of this government. We will be very clear in introducing our policies. We will also be very clear in drumming the achievements of this administration. Allow every good information to permeate into the main fabrics of the society.
What we have right now is an aggregator website, a one-stop shop that brings together what has been done, what is being done, and the destination to
information and about government strides and efforts. Before we let you go, of course, the time is ticking, clock is ticking, all the political parties. What would be your word, especially for those who have thrown their hats in the ring to compete in terms of the political space right now?
There should be unity, there should close rank, and all the aspirants should go together and have a unified candidate, so that the election will go free without hitches, and the candidate...
There's room for competition, democracy.
Yeah, there's room, but in the situation where there is consensus and the candidate will align within themselves, it will give room for, a more stronger unity, and it's going to be hitch-free.
For groups such as yourself, Initiative for Good Governance, galvanizing people from the grassroots, how has it been? What would be, for instance, your prediction? We saw relatively low voter turnout in the election cycle for 2023, both at the sub-national and the national level. Are you expecting an increase? Have the party done enough? Has INEC done enough in sensitizing Nigerians and perhaps trying to capture the imagination of Nigerians as far as, electioneering processes are concerned?
The INEC have done their best, but there should be more, galvanizing of, an informative acumen where the electorate are going to be enlightened more, and the election is going to have more, voters this time around.
Let me not cut you short because, of course, we are heading to, to close. But a lot of people have put the blame on the doorstep of political parties, that they just come around every 4 years and use political processes, electoral processes as some kind of festival. The time in between to engage Nigerians and begin to advertise their credentials and perhaps their philosophy in state building, they don't do much. But once it's getting towards the season of politics, they just begin to, come together and then just to challenge each other as far as the election is concerned. But in terms of political engagement of the people, not much is being done, especially by political parties and most of the ones that have not done too well on the ballot as well.
You see, that has always been the case. Sometimes if you go through the terrain of the political arena, some people are actually not relating well with their constituencies. But for those who have actually performed extremely well, their coordination and relationship within their constituencies are very relatively okay. So it's now left for the electorate to decide. Those that are there to enhance good government or good governance should be taken into cognizance. But for those who are not performing, I think the electorate should have their way and vote them out. That is the best.
All right, we've had Professor Musa Soken, Convener Initiative for Good Governance. Are you throwing your hat in the ring for any this time around, or you are on the sidelines watching and perhaps guiding in Initiative for Good Governance?
No, we're actually advocating and predicting and, supporting any initiative that is going to promote good governance. And as you know, we have a book titled Pathway to Economic and Social Development in Nigeria, a guide to APC government. This is a strategic book that is, being, laid down by professors and professionals in different fields.
Are you saying other parties can pick it up and also use it? Is it just for your party?
No, it's for good. The initiative is generally for good governance. So
that has been the program. Ambassador Musa Soken has been our guest today. That's the political update. Will come again on Friday. Between now and then, let's play our policies for the greater good and keep it logged on the Nigerian Television Authority, especially for news, reviews, previews, and interviews surrounding political activities. It is a one-stop shop. We would always give you the latest information, especially surrounding the elections. That has been the program. We'll be back next time. That will be Friday. Keep it logged on Nigerian Television Authority. Bye-bye now.